Hello everyone and welcome to the Girl with the Curly Hair project. My name is Nele and today I will be talking to you about meltdowns in public and how you can help your ASD loved one when they're having a meltdown. Meltdowns basically are when your person or your loved one with ASD has become overwhelmed by sensory input, emotional input, or any other kind of input, and they simply can't cope anymore. It's like they have a bucket, and their bucket is completely full to the brim with all kinds of input, and it starts to overflow. Meltdowns can occur in various ways. It's very individual. For children, you often see kicking, screaming, lying on the ground, covering ears, eyes. Adults can still do this too. They can be hitting things, hitting themselves, using offensive words, screaming, etc., and so forth and so on. There is not one single way you can describe a meltdown since it's so personal for everyone. Helping someone in a meltdown also isn't easy because you need to recognize when someone is in a meltdown, and because the signs are so individual, this isn't always easy. If you have someone in your surroundings, a loved one with ASD, learn to recognize it. That will be helpful. First of all, and very importantly, is beware of the environment. The environment is often a massive trigger for someone with ASD. For example, if you have a teenage daughter and she wants to go shopping with her friends, and they go to a center where they have all the shopping, the shops in a mall, so to speak, it's very likely that she will be triggered by an awful lot of sensory input. You know, there's the lights inside the shops, there's the sound of the register, the beeping of alarms going off, the sense, for example, of a perfume shop or food shops, people chit-chatting all around them. This can become very, very overwhelming very, very quickly. And when you know this, that your loved one with Asperger's syndrome or autism is very sensitive to this, you'd want to react to that beforehand. For example, you'd want to keep the time in such an environment as short as possible, or provide them with headphones, sunglasses, a hood over their heads, so they're somewhat protected. Secondly, what helps are safety anchors. Safety anchors can be anything or anyone even. And I want to illustrate this with an example that I have of my own. 3 years ago, when I started my education as a special needs therapist, I'm graduated now, I took public transport to school and from school. Public transport is quite difficult for someone with autism, especially when you have to take the bus and it's very crowded on the bus. Now, usually I was prepared and had my headphones with me, but on this particular day I had a very long day. I was in class from 8:30 till 4:30 in the afternoon, so it was a very long day, and there were people sitting around me who were wearing lots of makeup and perfume. Perhaps it wasn't lots of makeup or perfume for them, but for me it was very overwhelming. So I went into a meltdown, and a meltdown with me is I start stimming really heavily. So I start rocking back and forth, and people find it very difficult to make contact with me. And I was getting looks from people around me. Then this lady came to sit in front of me, and she just held my hand and guided me off the bus, the first stop that we had. And that made me feel very safe. It was like I had someone taking care of me, or I felt safe in a very hostile environment, and that helped calm my senses down. A safety anchor can be anything or anyone, like I said. It can be a friend, but it can also, for children, be their favorite toy, a blanket, a stuffed animal, a necklace, something you can fidget with. It can be anything really, but it does help to create a safe place in a very, very hostile environment. So that's really very helpful. Another thing you can do to help is focus on the person having a meltdown. This is difficult, and I know this is difficult. In a neurotypical world, you're not really supposed to have meltdowns, especially as an adult or as a child. When you behave in a certain way, people will judge you. People will judge the person who's with you. They will not be ashamed to do this at all, even. They will just do that because they feel this behavior is inappropriate without knowing the background to it. Let them. Your first priority when someone's having a meltdown, your friend, your partner, or your child, is that person. You want them to be safe, you want them not to hurt themselves or others, and you want to get them out of the hostile environment as soon as you can. What anyone else says about that, or pointing fingers or calling names, let them for that moment. It's not important. It says a lot more about them than it does about you. And like I said, the first priority you have is to keep the person in the meltdown safe. And I want to address myself especially to parents with children who have autism. Meltdowns can be very violent and very sudden. And I know people will react like, they should spank their child, or, I would have raised them differently, or temper tantrum, you shouldn't give in, you get that all the time. Let them. Don't worry about it. And I know that's difficult, but don't waste energy worrying about that. They've already formed an opinion without knowing what they're talking about. It's no point trying to prove otherwise. You won't change their minds. Just focus on what you can do in that situation to help your loved one who's having a meltdown. After the meltdown, your child or your loved one or your friend is going to be extremely exhausted. Having a meltdown is like running a marathon. It's highly intensive. You use everything, not just physically, but mentally. It's like everything explodes in here and it reflects on your entire body. You want to even out everything that's coming at you, sensory-wise, by blocking it, by having to scream or kick or shout names. And there's so much energy that goes into it that it can take days to recover. So if you have a partner or a loved one or a child with ASD, if they have had a meltdown, make sure they have recovery time as well. Don't expect them to just get over it really quickly, because it's not going to happen. And I think especially parents with children with autism will know this. But if you started dating someone who has Asperger's syndrome and they've gone into a meltdown, understand that they may need a few days to themselves to get over it, because they're so completely exhausted. They just really need to recover energy-wise, both physically and mentally, and they will get on top of things again once they do. But try not to push their recovery time. Let them decide for themselves, if possible, how much time they need and when they feel well enough again to re-engage in everything that they want to re-engage in. And lastly, but very importantly, is learn the signs. And this is talking more about how do I prevent a meltdown. This isn't easy, because sometimes it can escalate very quickly, or you just are not noticing the signs, or the signs are just not showing. When you have someone and you've grown up with them and they have ASD or Asperger's syndrome, autism, or a child that you're raising, it will be easier to start recognizing the signs. There will always be exceptions, No child is the same. No brother or sister is the same. And sometimes you have a combination of mental factors with sensory factors that you're simply not aware of that can trigger a meltdown. But trying to prevent the triggers that you are aware of, or just minimizing them, may be very, very helpful. When you have a partner with Asperger's syndrome and you're just starting to get to know them, you will have to learn the signs. Talking to them about it might be helpful. Keeping a diary in which you write meltdown then in that environment, what happened beforehand, can help you. It's not going to be easy, and it will take a lot of patience, both from you and your partner, to figure it out what is exactly that triggers a meltdown. But prevention will make both you happier, your child happier, or your partner or your friend happier in the end. This is explained more in my blog, which you can find on the website for the Girl with the Curly Hair project. If you have any questions, just ask. Thank you for listening and have a wonderful day. Bye.